and enjoy the action. It's a glorious night here at the National Stadium. The stage is set, the stakes are huge. It's Celtic against Inverness Cally Thistle in the Scottish Cup final with Pat Bonner, Willie Miller and Alistair Lamont.
Thanks very much, Kenny. It's a sun-kissed Hampden Park, an archetypal Scottish Cup final Saturday. Though mercifully for the players, it's a little cooler than it would have been at 3 o'clock. A little break from the norm in that regard, but it would be something truly extraordinary if Inverness Cally Thistle can produce the biggest shock the Scottish Cup final has ever seen against the Celtic side that has left the competition in its wake all season. So many subplots at play this evening, but the central story is a pretty simple one. The last piece of silverware of the season is at stake. Will it be Scottish Cup number 41 for Celtic, or a second in the relatively short history of Cally Thistle? Well, the pitch is in magnificent condition and the players are almost ready to get us underway. Celtic in their traditional green and white hoops gather, preparing to go into the huddle. Joe Hart, all in yellow, can become only the third player to win a clean sweep of British trophies after another famous Celt, Kenny Dalglish and Andrew Kanchelskis. But that is if he lifts the Scottish Cup this afternoon. Inverness Cally Thistle, they have other ideas. They are in their blue and red tops, blue shorts, blue socks, and they will go from left to right as we look at it from high up in the south stand here at Hampden, the National Stadium. And referee John Beaton is just waiting on the final signal before getting us underway. Indeed we are. It's Celtic who kick us off in the blazing sunshine on the south side of Glasgow. Wonderful period of weather we've been having, and it really does feel like a proper Scottish Cup final day as Celtic try to come forward and make a real impression early on. Down the right hand side they go from the off. It's Johnston getting forward. Inverness Cally Thistle have got to try and keep the back door shut for as long as humanly possible. But here comes Celtic looking to get in on the inside, and Maida just can't latch on to the ball forward from Greg Taylor. It'll be an Inverness Cally Thistle goal kick. What an occasion, Pat Bonner, we have in our hands here this afternoon.
Yeah, it's a wonderful occasion. The sound is incredible. Obviously Celtic dominating proceedings and dominating the crowd also, and if they get in the front foot, that crowd could be an added bonus for them. But they've obviously had to kick off. They started and they're pressed Inverness back. That ball played inside the fullback for Maeda, just overhitted, and that's going to be a big test for the young fullback up against Maeda on this left-hand side.
Looks like Scott Allardyce is just anchoring the midfield, just in the centre of the three, with Sean Welsh and David Carson on either side of him. But Jay Henderson and Nathan Shaw have started the game pretty high up the park, it has to be said, looking to try to take the game to Celtic. But it's Celtic in possession on the halfway line, with Iwata turning it back to Carl Starfelt. What have you made of Iwata playing at centre-back so far, Packy?
Listen, he's a good player. He'll get on the ball, he'll pass it. Just a lack of inches is his biggest problem, you know. And if you can get crosses into the box, Jay Henderson on one side, he plays a really good ball into the box. He only takes a yard and he whips it in, and that could be a test for him. And Starfelt is the one who's got the height. He's the defender. He's the one that sometimes playing out of the back gets caught on the ball. But overall, it's not the central defensive partnership that Celtic will look to in the future. That's for sure when Carter Vickers comes back.
Cally Thistle with a free kick taken in the centre circle, not forward down the right hand side, harmlessly behind for a goal kick. But Willie Miller, Inverness Cally Thistle, they don't look to be too nervy out there, certainly in these opening proceedings.
No, they don't, and they're certainly not sitting back. You know, as you said, they've got three up top there trying to put Celtic under as much pressure as they possibly can. Obviously, you know, not allowing them to dominate the ball as they like to dominate, or at least putting them under pressure, so it's not just too easy for them to do that. So Billy Dodds has set out with quite an attacking formation.
Here comes Celtic though, down the right hand side, too much on the pass forward. Just another little tactical note. Looks like Nathan Shaw, of those three you're talking about, Willie, is playing the more central, but actually slightly withdrawn and looking to sit on Callum McGregor and try and nullify his impact.
Yeah, well, Callum McGregor is such an important player, isn't he? And you know, if you give him room, then he'll just pop into that holding midfield area and he'll control play. So yeah, you're right, it looks as though Shaw is playing through the middle, although he's right up on top of the two centre backs. In fact, you've got three up there against the centre backs. It's Henderson, Mackay and Shaw. So yeah, he might drop back and try to get on top of Callum McGregor, but he's also got the other role, and that's to be up top as well and be perhaps the target man who looks tall and rangy. So I think Dodge will be looking maybe to go back to front from time to time.
Caley Thistle have it just inside their own half, played forward there by Devine, but it's given away, and it's Johnston picking up just inside his own half, the Canadian right back, who's been an excellent signing, you'd have to say, since coming in January, replacing Juranovic effectively, and very effectively he's done that. But Celtic have put the ball out of play, not the most fluent start from them, certainly not what we're used to seeing, but only 4 minutes in, no goals as yet, no threats to either goalkeeper. Mark Ridgers, the Inverness Caley Thistle custodian, all in bright orange this afternoon. As Caley Thistle look to work their way up the park, Billy Mackay fouling Greg Taylor there, and it will be a Celtic free kick, which is quickly taken, as they so often try to do, get the ball moving, try to catch the opponents unawares where possible. Jota on the right hand side, where he started the game up against Cameron Harper, trying to get the ball in, and it's gone straight behind, and it's a goal kick. And I think Billy Dodds, Paki Bonner, will be pretty pleased by the way the first 5 minutes are going. It's all about these little increments, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, he talked about how he was maybe coming up with a bit of a plan to start, and Wally's described it. Obviously Nathan Shaw, he's the tallest one of those three, so he's pushing on to Carstuff and probably trying to occupy him. The goalkeeper's playing long into those areas, and hopefully then they can get a bit of support in around the ball and win the ball higher up the pitch.
McGregor's won it, tries to feed it forward for Maida. Cross goes Devine, just turns it out of play.
I just wonder how players are feeling now with the heat in there, Willie. You know, that first get your breath, that first period is almost your lungs are tightened up, and from an Inverness point of view, that's tough.
Here's Hattati just outside the penalty, tries to feed it into the feet of Kyogo, knocked away from him. Good defending from Caley Thistle, and they try to work their way forward, and it's good ball retention. It's Henderson keeping the ball in the middle of the park under a bit of pressure, and it's they're a good passing side, Caley Thistle. They're not ones to get flustered, and they've played a lot of good football, certainly in the latter part of the season. Unfortunate perhaps to miss out on the playoffs ultimately, and the ball's just gone out of play for a Celtic throw-in over on the far side, but they don't look to have been phased by the occasion. I was talking to Aaron Doran actually on Thursday, Willie, and I was asking how big a deal it would have been for some of the players who haven't played here before to get that semi-final under their belt, albeit a different atmosphere, but nonetheless they've been to Hampden and experienced that.
Yeah, I think that's important. You know, I think getting a little dress rehearsal, obviously nothing like the atmosphere that they have to put up with this afternoon, which they should be embracing and looking forward to. You know, don't get too many occasions to play in an atmosphere like this against a quality side.
Here's Celtic, right hand side, almost down at the corner flag. It's Jota, then knocked forward for O'Reilly by Johnston, but it's just shepherded out of play by Allardyce, and it will be another goal kick to Inverness Caley Thistle.
Yeah, good defending there. He tracked Matt O'Reilly, and those runs from midfielders beyond Inverness Caley's defence, getting in behind, that's a danger. So he did really well tracking him, and then just stood up and forced the ball over the end line.
So a pretty pleasing start for Inverness Caley Thistle and Billy Dodds, and just maybe taking a little bit of volume out of the Celtic crowd, who perhaps were hoping for an early goal a la Ilkay Gundogan, who struck within 13 seconds of the start in the FA Cup final, but then the Celtic fans go and ramp up the volume once more, getting right behind their side here in their tens of thousands, looking to see their side complete an 8th domestic treble, a record it would be.
What's interesting also from Inverness is because they're playing with that sort of front three very tight within 15, they're taking care of the inverted fullback situation and leaving it almost a 1v1 in the wide areas for the fullback and the winger, and that'll be the test. So those wide guys, almost a front two wide players, will not be able to come back and help their fullbacks. It'll be a midfielder that'll have to get across, one of the holding midfield players to help whoever's in those wide areas.
It's a goal kick to Inverness Cali Thistle to be taken by Mark Ridgers, who was actually on the bench back in 2012 for Hearts against Hibs in the Scottish Cup final. As it's picked up by Iwata and turns it back to Joe Hart, who does have an FA Cup medal to his name when Man City won it back in 2011. Out comes Celtic from the back. It's Starfelt, gets the 1-2 from Taylor. And then back to Taylor on the halfway line, as Paki says, playing in that inverted full-back role, central area right now. Here's Iwata, square for Starfelt. Cali Thistle just dropping off the game right now, just allowing Celtic to have it at the back line. Iwata tries to thread it through. It's a good ball for O'Reilly, central area out to the left-hand side for Taylor, who helps it on for Maida. Now just about 15 yards from the goal line, coming back in field, finds Hattati, who nudges it back to Iwata. Space is hard to come by, but if anyone can find it, it's Celtic, as the ball broken off a Cali Thistle defender. The Kyogo was the target. It's gone behind for a corner. Celtic's first of the game, almost 10 minutes played, goalless. It's quickly taken over on the right-hand side. Jota has it, clips into the penalty area, away by Carson back there. Iwata picks up about 35 yards from goal. Back to his skipper McGregor, and now Starfelt for Hattati, quickly closed down by the rangy Allardyce. Starfelt has it in the centre circle, forward, straight ball for O'Reilly, who knocks out to the left-hand side for Maida. Comes in to try and test Wallace Duffy. Taylor now trying to link down the left-hand side. Taylor's attempted cross is blocked by Carson. In steps Maida, and then Welsh slides in, and there's an offside flag up.
Yeah, I think he came from an offside position. He was actually over the end line, wasn't he, Greg Taylor, and stepped back into play, so deemed offside. But that's Inverness, they're pinned back in the last couple of minutes, and Celtic then just the movement off the ball, the passing, waiting for that opportunity just to cut them open.
But the thing is there, Pat, that you know, Cali Thistle have been pushed back. It's not a case that they're going back quickly. You know, it's because of Celtic's domination of the ball, and they're actually pinning them back. But you see now they've got the three up top again, so and the back four are pushing out up and squeezing, and it'll be a long ball for the goalkeeper all the time.
Here's Jota, right-hand side. The Celtic come forward once more, blocked by Harper, out for a throw-in over on the far side. 11 minutes played at the National Stadium. Celtic 0, Inverness Cali Thistle 0 in the Scottish Cup final. Celtic in possession with the Portuguese winger Jota, leaves it for Taylor. Again, he's in an advanced position. So the Celtic player down in the penalty. It's Kyogo. He's picking himself back up. There's an off-the-ball incident. He's waving his arms in the direction of the assistant. The Celtic continue in possession. Hattati can't find a way forward. The ball breaks to Shaw, midway inside his own half. Plays it out to the left-hand side to Harper. Harper checks back and looks for options. Finds a ball for Allardyce inside. He looks over the top. Looks offside. Henderson goes through on goal. It's Joe Hart though out to the edge of his penalty area to head it away before Henderson could capitalise. Pretty sure that would have been flagged offside ultimately in any case, but
yeah, I think it would, but it's a good idea. You know, obviously Celtic pushed high up the pitch. They've got obviously here's half opportunity, but it's gone back to the goalkeeper. But that was a decent ball over the top. Just get his timing of his run, and he would have been in.
Yeah, he might well have been. Almost a half chance, as Paki says, at the other end as Hattati tried to get it through for Kyogo and just didn't quite get the pass right, as Allardyce picks up again in the middle of the park and threads it down the right-hand side, looking for the run there of Billy Mackay. He's not going to catch that, and he waves the arms to say, well, what do you want me to do with that? It's out for a throw into Celtic, which has been taken by Greg Taylor. Back to Starfelt, and now his goalkeeper Joe Hart inside his own 6-yard box. Back to Starfelt. The Swedish defender brings it up the park, still midway inside his own half. Greg Taylor in possession. finds Callum McGregor in a bit of space at the edge of the centre circle. Now Johnston out to the right hand side for Jota. Drives it forward for the continued run of Johnston, right hand side almost at the corner flag. Tracked there by Welsh. Celtic retaining possession. Cali Thistle looking to try and stick as close to their men as possible, but it's very difficult against this Celtic side as O'Reilly has it midway inside the Cali Thistle half. Out to the right for Johnston, continues his run and gets it back, right flank almost at the corner flag once more. Back with Johnston and back once more to Iwata. Patient stuff from Celtic. 13 and a half on the clock, still 0-0. Starfelt has it. Inverness Cali Thistle have dropped right way back inside their own half as Starfelt has the ball about 20 yards into the Cali Thistle half. McGregor now just tries to change the pace of the game. Taylor helps it on to Maida. Will he catch it? He does. Left hand side. It's all the way back now to Hatate. Now it's Iwata about midway inside. The Celtic have a poor pass intended for Alistair Johnson. It's patient from Celtic, Willie Miller, but Cali Thistle well organised, well disciplined, and effectively forcing the errors.
Yeah, but that is a poor pass forward. I mean, it's on for Johnson. If he just rolls that in front of Alistair Johnson, you know, he's in a great position. You know, okay, a little bit wide on the right hand side, but you know, a real threatening position. But Iwata just hits it too hard. You just have to roll it into his path. It kind of pings it there, and that was really promising. But yeah, I mean, Cali Thistle are doing well. They're getting men back. They're well organised. You know, but the longer you have to chase this ball, the more you know, the brain starts to switch off a little bit if you're not getting any respite. And I think where Billy Dodds will be is, as they have done, try to play the passes. When you get the ball, try to keep it.
Yeah, a month's rest in some ways can be good for the legs, but at some point that might begin to tell with a lack of match sharpness. Celtic have won a free kick for a challenge, and Maida is about 30 yards from goal. It's left of centre, but it's certainly within Jota's range. You might well fancy this Paki ball up.
Yeah, it probably might be 5 yards, a bit too far out for him to trouble Mark Ridges and Inverness goal, but no doubt he'll probably take it on. Just to test the goalkeeper, see what he's made of.
Mark Ridgers has lined up a two-man wall 2 or 3 yards outside the penalty area, which gives you some idea of the distance here. Jota and O'Reilly are the players over the dead ball situation, about maybe 10 yards left of centre, and there's a third man now in that wall as Celtic look to try and test Mark Ridgers for the first time after just over a quarter of an hour, still goalless. Will it be O'Reilly to stand up towards the back post? Looks that way, and it comes, clipped in. Celtic head gets to it, but it's away from goal from Johnston. They still have possession though, just outside the penalty area, looking for a way through. Little flick from Jota, it doesn't come off though. Cali Thistle clear the lines, but they are camped right back inside their own penalty area right now, trying to work their way up the field. Shaw just knocks it forward, but the problem is when you're lying so deep, there's no players that bit further forward to hold on to possession, and Celtic will begin another wave of attack, and it's out on the left hand side with Hatate. Taylor advanced of him, now it's Maida, left hand side, just gets away from a couple of Cali Thistle players and then leaves it to Hatate once more in the left channel, pokes it back to Maida, can't get away from Allardyce, who's seen plenty of the ball in the early exchanges, breaks for Mackay, and now it's Harper, left hand side, inside, midway inside his own half. Back for Dees, former Celtic youth player, comes off a Celtic player out for a throw-in over on the far side, and just a chance for Cali Thistle to get a little bit of a breather as they take this throw-in.
And I think they're going to need you know, a little bit of time like that. Very hot out there, even though, you know, 5:45 or so, but it'll be testing, it'll be telling on them as this game you know, goes forward. And I think when they get that ball, they haven't been able to do it. They did it, you know, in the first 10 minutes they seem to be able to keep it, but Celtic put them under so much pressure. They're really quick and, you know, facing up an opponent and trying to win the ball back, and for the last, you know, 10 minutes or so they haven't been able to keep possession. And you really need to, you know, in this heat at this time, try to keep possession, make the passes, you know, just to give yourself a little bit of respite from constantly being under attack.
Billy Mackay taking it to play there by Matt O'Reilly, and it will be a free kick just a few yards inside the Cali Thistle half, and a chance for them to just push up the field a little and try and mount an attack of their own. They have been under pressure, not exactly meaningful pressure in terms of shots at goal, but having to work hard to keep Celtic out. Here they are with Welsh feeding it forward, looking for the run of Shaw. Iwata matches it though and finds Johnston with a pass, and then Callum McGregor picks up just outside his own penalty area, and now it's Starfelt coming forward midway inside his own half. Again, Cali Thistle just dropping off. Henderson trying to keep an eye on where Greg Taylor's going.
Yeah, what happens, Greg Taylor's obviously playing that inverted fullback as we talked about, and as Hatate dropping out into that sort of kind of wider space and trying to drag a midfielder out to create space then for, you know, maybe inside somebody to exploit the space further in.
Here's Iwata for Starfelt inside the centre circle again, invited to come forward. Cali Thistle still allowing him to come. He's come a long way now. He finds Hatate just outside the penalty. He tries to clip it, looking for Jota. Harper won it. O'Reilly on the rebound, and it's not far off target as the ball fell kindly from Harper's attempted clearance. It was a difficult one to take, an awkward one, but he almost managed to test Mark Ridgers, but it remains Celtic 0, Inverness Cali Thistle 0, 19 played. Yeah,
that's the problem also, a centre-back stepping in there, isn't it? You know, he had lots of space. I thought he was going to have a strike, but he didn't. He passed it, but it just opens up when other players are given responsibility to almost go man for man with the free player is the centre back, and he steps into midfield, and that creates a problem for you. Somebody has to go to him then.
I think you take it on though, Pat. You know, he has a centre back, but it seemed to open up for him. There was maybe 25-30 yards out or so, but I think you take that one on. You just never know what might happen.
Here's Jota. We've usually got a pretty good idea of what might happen when he's in possession, as he knocks it back the way this time to Callum McGregor. Almost 20 minutes on the clock at Hampden. 0-0 between Celtic, the huge favourites, and the underdogs Inverness Cali Thistle. Here's Johnston. It's a short pass back to Iwata. Billy Mackay nipped in, claiming he was fouled, but he just really didn't have the legs to hold on to the ball and get away from Iwata, and it's back in Celtic possession, and John Beaton certainly agreeing there was nothing in that.
Yeah, Billy does be very happy. You know, 20 minutes gone. I think it's one half chance from Matt O'Reilly, really. And here they're on the counter-attack now, Inverness. So their plan has worked so far.
It was a terrible pass from Hatate that time, and Cali Thistle gifted possession as we do past that 20-minute mark. And certainly when teams know they're going to be on the defensive and they know they're going to have to work hard, they do try and identify these moments in the game to get to, and 20 minutes will certainly be one of them for Billy Dodds on his side as David Carson tries to feed it forward. And then across comes Jay Henderson. Taylor just knocks it out of play. Throw in on the halfway line, more or less, to Inverness Cali Thistle on the right hand side, to be taken by another former Celtic youth player, Wallace Duffy. And it's into Carson. He gets it back from Henderson, tries to clip it over the top of Starfelt, who's there ahead of Nathan Shaw, and turns it back to his goalkeeper Joe Hart. Quickly out to Callum McGregor. McGregor comes up towards the halfway line, looking to make something happen. Billy Mackay slides in but can't dispossess the Celtic captain. Maida gets it through the legs of Duffy, but on the cover was Carson, who gets there before Hatate and feeds it up to the halfway line. Starfelt there under no real pressure and plays it square to Iwata, just inside his own half. Forward he comes and out to the right hand side for Johnston. Johnston is a good ball for O'Reilly, right hand side of the penalty area, looking to make something happen now. Can't get it past Allardyce, who's again working hard to match the runs from the Celtic midfield, and it's out of play off O'Reilly. Another Inverness Cali Thistle throw in. Well, if you're looking at this game and thinking this could be a record scoreline in the Scottish Cup final, you've probably been disabused of that by the Cali Thistle performance so far, keeping Celtic at bay. Plenty of time left, of course, but we're almost at the quarter mark in the game, and it's still 0-0.
Yeah, it's been a real good start for Cali Thistle. You know, they look well organised. There's obviously a game plan there. They've had nearly a month to work on it, right enough, so maybe shouldn't be that surprised that Billy Dodds have come up with a plan that, you know, if you've got the ball, try to keep it, try to make the passes, which I think is absolutely correct. The three up top gives them an outlet. Okay, they haven't created any opportunities yet.
Yeah, giving the ball away here in a dangerous area. It's Hatate, 25 yards from goal. Now Jota inside the penalty area, tries to slip it back in for Hatate. He slips on the Hampden surface, and Inverness Cali Thistle survive But that might have been the opening goal if Celtic would have been more clinical. Backy Bonner, a big chance for them.
Oh, it's a huge chance, and again, just giving the ball away in a very, very dangerous position, about 30 yards out, almost in the middle of the pitch, and Celtic just breaking. I thought Jota should have struck it himself when he cut in on his right-hand side to slide it into the corner. Instead, he was almost too clever. Little roll back into Hatate, who slipped, and the chance was gone. But what an opportunity for Celtic to strike.
Overthinking, Pat, overthinking. Starfelt getting the opportunity, strike it from outside the box, and then Jota, I don't know what he's thinking there, with a little reverse pass. Obviously trying to put Hatate in, but he's coming pretty close to the penalty spot on his right foot. Surely he just tries to slide
it into the corner.
Big chance.
Yeah, 14 goals for the season. Jota, you'd have backed him to hit the target from the position he was in, but he tried to play in Hatate, who slipped at an inopportune time as far as he was concerned, and the danger was gone. We played almost 24 minutes. It's Celtic 0, Inverness, Cali Thistle 0. The first really good chance of the game there falling to Celtic, but they passed it up.
Yeah, but it was created not by themselves in this occasion. It was created by a mistake from Inverness, and they can't put the ball in risk in now those areas.
There's Hatate looking to find Maida. Again, his pass is misplaced. Inverness, Cali Thistle standing strong thus far, 24 minutes in. It was the first time Cali Thistle had really given the ball away in such a dangerous position. Celtic couldn't make the most of it, but here they come once more. It was 76% Celtic possession just a couple of moments ago, which tells you about the balance of play, but it's not something you would find unexpected, certainly. As Jota has it over on the right-hand side. Midway inside the Cali Thistle half, feeds it into the penalty area. It's a poor touch from Allardyce for once, and it's behind for a Celtic corner, and he'll be hoping he's not made to pay for that poor touch.
Yeah, there was a lack of communication also from the goalkeeper. You know, just let it run through to the goalkeeper, and it was an easy take for him. Instead, he tried to control it and miscontrolled and give away a needless corner.
Celtic corner from the right to be taken by O'Reilly. Left-footed, teases it into the 6-yard box. Won by the head of Dees, I think it was, in there. Out of the penalty area it goes. The Celtic recycle it, and it's back with Johnston. 20 minutes remaining in this first half. Still no goals. As Iwata picks up possession midway inside the Cali Thistle half. It's out to Jota. And back with Johnston once again. 15 yards inside the Cali Thistle half. Now McGregor feeds it forward. O'Reilly for Hatate, about 25 yards out, left of centre. Bit of room for O'Reilly in the left-hand side. Cross comes Duffy to try and close him down.
It's so congested in that central place. The spaces are wide, but the two fullbacks are doing very well up against Jota and up against Maeda in the main when the ball does go wide.
Here's McGregor, tracked by Shaw. Now Iwata joining in with the attack, well advanced. With no Cali Thistle players forward, he might as well go forward. Starfelt the only man back for Celtic right now. It's Maida on the angle of the box on the left-hand side. Onto the left foot, right across goal. Inverness, Cali Thistle unsure of themselves at the back, but do manage to work it clear in the end. There was a bit of uncertainty there as to who was going to try and clear it. Fortunately for them, there was no Celtic player waiting to pounce, and they do get the ball into the Celtic half, but it's no respite really at the moment. Cali Thistle really been dragged back into their own final third. 26 minutes on the clock, though, still no goals.
Yeah, but they expected that. That's probably what they've done all in the last. The majority of their work would be on the defensive side, you know, out of possession. So they're well organised. You can see them organising, shouting, communicating, keeping the distances right, keeping the spaces right.
It does, though, look at the moment it's surely only a matter of time before Celtic navigate away through this Cali Thistle backline and find the opening goal. Here's Cali Thistle in possession with Welsh, the skipper, getting out to the left-hand side for Harper, bringing it up towards the halfway line with 27 minutes gone. Still no goals. Welsh again out to Billy Mackay on the left touchline, and then Harper just plays it off Jota, who's looks like he's been given a bit of licence to roam over the park to try and create something, but he is back out on the right flank right now as Harper plays it back the way to Dees, and Dees goes back to Ridgers, who'll be closed down by Kyogo, who I can't actually remember touching the ball in the game so far, although we know how
say that. We've seen that too many times, and he hasn't really. He's been well marshalled and then suddenly strike.
As Johnston, Welsh goes back and goes down under the slightest of touches, you'd have to say, from Johnson, but it's experienced play from the veteran midfielder there to win the free kick in his own final third, and again give Caley Thistle a bit of a breather, a chance to move up the park a little bit more. But they're all sticking to their task very well so far, you'd have to say, Willie Miller.
No, they are. You know, they're well organised, obviously. You know, Billy Dawes been working really hard on it. They're communicating too. You know, from a Celtic point of view, though, there isn't much happening in the wide areas, Pat. You know, you're talking about Kyogo. He likes to make that run, you know, if the ball's coming from a wide area or wide-ish area, you know, and get in front of centre backs. He hasn't had the opportunity to do that because Celtic haven't done anything in the wide areas. They haven't tried to isolate the full-backs, and the wide players have not tried to take on these full-backs either. So I think as far as Billy Dawes is concerned, they must be very happy with how things are going.
Yeah, it's a good ball from Taylor for O'Reilly, but he just couldn't gather it in. And Caley Thistle able to work it clear as Mackay picks up. That's given away though by Harper, and McGregor manages to find Taylor just outside the centre circle. Comes off John Beaton, the referee, and it'll be a drop ball in favour of Celtic.
Yeah, this is the slight adaptability I was talking about before the game, Ange. He's continued to play those inverted full-backs, and you know, Inverness has done their homework. They've worked at it. They're closing them down. They're not getting a lot of space in the middle. Surely the fullback needs to come wider and open things up a little bit, just to ask a question of Inverness and what they do then from a defensive perspective.
Here's Starfelt allowed to come forward again, about 35 yards from goal. It is Greg Taylor in an advanced position, plays it into the 6-yard box, but it's a poor ball in from Taylor. An easy take for Matt Ridgers, who's been untroubled in the opening almost half an hour at Hampden Park in the National Stadium, the Scottish Cup final. Not sure too many people would have predicted a goalless first half hour, but it is Celtic nil, Inverness Caley Thistle nil, as Matt Ridgers knocks it long. One for Nathan Shaw to chase and try and put Starfelt under a bit of pressure, but it's a thankless task up there for Shaw, and Celtic easily able to pick up possession and try and come forward once more. It's Iwata playing it for McGregor. McGregor just has to stretch, but he does get the pass away out to the right hand side, and it's Jota picking up about 15 yards inside the Caley Thistle half. Forward goes O'Reilly, claims for offside, but I don't think he was. Devine, who was the man claiming, looked to be playing him on. He was deeper than any of his teammates, and Celtic still have it, but too many misplaced passes there from Celtic. Another one out for a throw-in on the far side, and that's all brilliant for Inverness Caley Thistle. When they see Celtic making unforced errors like that, it must give them real belief.
Yeah, they can slow the game down now. They don't have to rush. Just kind of almost break the game up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's absolutely what they want.
But Jota plays the ball to O'Reilly, and then O'Reilly, I think, you know, just doesn't take the responsibility either taking the full back on or actually putting a cross into the box. We haven't had a cross into the box yet. He comes back the park and he's really going nowhere. And I think as a defence, you're quite happy with that. Whereas if he gets in a wide area, he gets isolated 1v1 and he takes the full back on and puts a cross into the box, and that's more worrying.
Out it comes to the left hand side for Taylor, taking Parky's advice and sticking out in the touchline for once. Iwata now plays it forward for Johnston. Johnston back to Iwata on the halfway line. Not exactly inspiring stuff so far from Celtic as they look to clinch this treble, but they only need half a chance as Hatate tried to slip that one through for Kyogo. Again, just too much on the pass, and it's a comfortable bit of possession for Mark Ridgers.
Yeah, the way the Inverness is set up, they're almost set up with their 4. They're 3 tight in midfield, and then the 3 almost tight up front. Yeah. And Celtic are trying to go through the middle at times. Yep. I just think the fullbacks have got to drop out, create 2v1 situations.
There's Billy Mackay out on the left-hand side as Inverness Caley Thistle have a rare 40 forward. Welsh in field to Allardyce, but back onto the halfway line now, and it's Harper, Carson. Now they go back all the way back to the goalkeeper. They were 30-odd yards away from Joe Hart's goal a second ago, but keeping the ball, which is the main thing. They still have it on the halfway line. It's Carson for Henderson on loan from St Mirren, but his contract there is up. Did say he's putting all contract talks to the side until after this huge game. Massive stage for him to show his worth to St Mirren or any other. Celtic have it back, and it's Callum McGregor trying to drive his team forward out to the left hand side for Maida. Taylor trying to get up in support. In field comes Maida, plays it short for Hatate, gets the return ball, but just behind him, and he couldn't keep a hold of the ball. Cali Thistle work it out of the danger area. Johnston can't find Starfelt, and Inverness Cali Thistle nip in through Mackay. Now it's Henderson, tries the big switch of play, but it's ambitious, looking for Welsh. It's out of play over on the far side, but we have reached the 33-minute mark, and it's still Celtic 0, Inverness Cali Thistle 0. No doubt who the happier manager will be at this stage.
Yeah, it's too ambitious from Jay Henderson there. You know, you want to keep the ball, you don't want to be trying these 60-yard passes across the diagonal passes in the hope that you're going to find, you know, one of your teammates. I think you want to keep it nice and short, keep it a lot more simpler.
Here's Maida, about 20 yards from the goal line, comes in field, shooting opportunity, but he drags it wide of the near post. Didn't really get a hold of it as he would like to, and again no test for the Inverness Cali Thistle goalkeeper, who sees it wide, well wide in the end from Dyson Maida. Celtic 0, Cali Thistle 0.
In the last couple of minutes, I think Greg Taylor's been told by the manager to drift a little bit wider, and he's gone in the overlap a couple of times. That just then opens up the space for Maeda to go on the inside, and he took a shot on that particular occasion. So there might be a little change of the tactics from Celtic. We'll see how it develops.
Well, they've got BBC Radio Scotland on in the dugout pack here, of course, and they listen to your wise words and then implementing them. Let's see what difference it might make. Celtic in possession, as they have been for much of the game so far, with just over 10 minutes of the half remaining. They haven't managed to get on the score sheet yet, as Iwata brings it forward from the back, and now it is Taylor again out on the left hand side, forward for Maida running it. Duffy held up for the moment, then Maida tries the back heel. Duffy just holding off Taylor, and it's not really coming off for Celtic as they would like just at the moment, and the frustration beginning to build somewhat in the stands as the Celtic fans, I would imagine the vast majority of whom would have come here today assuming that they would roll over Inverness Cali Thistle. It just hasn't happened yet.
Not yet, but it's a long way to go in this game, of course, and yeah, we'll see how it all develops. This is a serious time now, at about sort of 10 minutes to go to half-time. There's always a period where Celtic seem to strike and the other team maybe switches off for that period, hoping to get into half-time.
But it's been a little bit disappointing from Celtic, Pat, would you not say that? When they've got in advanced positions, they really haven't taken advantage of it for whatever reason.
But here they come, and it's Johnston on the chase. Across comes Dees. The ball hits Dees as Johnston tries to play it into the middle, and it breaks for Cammy Harper. And he just moves away from Jota on the left-hand side, not once but twice. It's Jota who's having the tricks played on him for once, but eventually Harper just knocks it forward rather aimlessly, and the ball is coughed back up to Celtic to start another attack. Half-time will be another huge landmark for Billy Dodds and his side, but 10 minutes will probably seem like an awful long time just at the moment as Johnston plays it forward. It's a good ball. O'Reilly across goals. The first save Mark Ridgers has had to make. It's a fairly straightforward one at his near post. There's O'Reilly in his right foot trying to sweep it across goal. Ridgers goes down to his right, takes possession. 36 on the clock, Celtic 0, Cali Thistle 0.
Yeah, it's that run, isn't it? And again behind, down between the centre halves, beyond them, and he wasn't tracked on this occasion, but I thought he should have cut that back along the 6-yard box. He had no chance of beating the goalkeeper, I don't think, from that angle, Willie.
Yeah, it was a tight angle, wasn't it? It was quite an easy save as well, and it was, although it was a shot, it didn't feel as though it was a shot. It didn't have the real power behind it. What's that right foot strike to trouble, Mark Ridgers in goal at all.
Celtic fans trying to urge their side on in the quest for the opening goal here this afternoon at Hampden. Still bathed in sunshine, the vast majority of that pitch, and no doubt that will be having its effect on the players as Taylor has it, plays it just back over the halfway line to Starfelt. He and Iwata, along with Joe Hart, the only players inside Celtic territory. It's out with Johnston, plays it forward again for the run of O'Reilly, just on the edge of the penalty area, right hand side. There's Kyogo! And may well be his first touch of the game, and he lashes it beyond Mark Ridgers, and there is the opening goal. He's been quiet all afternoon, but he only needs a glimpse of goal to strike, and it's Kyogo with the opener at Hampden. Celtic 1, Inverness Cali Thistle 0.
I think they are listening on the radio down there, because this time O'Reilly gets into the exact same position, cuts it back beautifully into the path of Kyogo, and there he was, off his defender, strikes with that right foot, top corner, beats the goalkeeper, all ends up. And you said Ali was quiet, but he comes alive at the most important time inside the box.
I don't know how many touches he's had. Has he had any touches of the ball? But it's a magnificent run from him, great cross into the box, more a cutback, isn't it, really? But that's his trademark, isn't it? You know, when Kyogo gets that opportunity, when he gets a sniff of being able to get in front of the defender, and he gets there and he doesn't, you know, mess about with it. It's a magnificent right foot strike into the top corner, fabulous goal, and he's just lethal. He's just lethal inside that penalty box.
That is exactly the word, Willie. 34 goals for the season. Kyogo, barely seen him in the game so far, but he was off his mark there to nip in front of Robbie Dees, who tried to track him. He couldn't get there in time as O'Reilly played it into his path, and he just hammered it beyond Matt Ridgers, who didn't have time to react before the ball was beyond him into the back of the net. It's a 4th Scottish Cup goal for Kyogo this season, 34 all told on his 50th appearance. He is, quite simply, as Willie Miller says, lethal.
Well, I'm also going to talk a little bit about Greg Taylor. He's definitely come wider. He's definitely opened up space in the middle of the pitch, and that's where they're getting their a little bit more freedom to pass that ball through the lines. He's definitely 5-10 yards further wider, and that's just opening up space for the centre halves or McGregor to get on the ball.
Here comes Celtic again. At last in front. The first real effort on goal, you would have to say. Certainly first meaningful one, and Kyogo made it count. And now they've got a corner, just about 5.5 minutes left of the opening 45. They've taken it short and quickly. It's O'Reilly into the box, step over there in the middle from Jota. Inverness Cali Thistle managed to cut out the danger and work it clear. Nathan Shaw will give chase, but he's beaten to it by Johnston. And it's a forlorn task for Nathan Shaw so far up front for Cali Thistle, as the smoke from the celebrations in the Celtic end drifts across Hampden Park. An acrid smell, but it's the smell of glory as far as Celtic are concerned that they have in their nostrils right now, as they aim to clinch a 5th trophy out of 6 under Ange Postecoglou, who has made just a magnificent impact since taking over in the summer of 2021. Here comes Celtic again. It's Kyogo inside the box, right for the finish. Oh, it's just wide. Tried to angle with the outside of the right boot beyond Ridgers, and it didn't look too far away from the far post, but it did just go wrong side of the goal. As far as Kyogo's concerned, it remains Celtic 1, Cali Thistle 0.
Yes, that movement again off the side of the centre half, just coming away from him 3 or 4 yards. You see him, just the movement's fantastic, and he hits it with the outside of his foot, his right foot, and just, I don't know how close it was. I'm just looking, oh, he's just got it wrong. He tried to bend it round the goalkeeper, but he actually had it almost straight, didn't he, wide? But what a good movement again, Will.
It's a movement, you know, really difficult. It's a little check. It makes as though he's going to run across the face of the defender there, and you know, I think it was Harper, was it, that was picking him up, and then he just checks back and he opens up the space for him. Hey, it's a good pass from Iwata as well, who's taken responsibility there and slotted it into the path of Kyogo, and it would have been a fabulous finish if it ended up in the back of the net, but unfortunately for him it just slipped by the post.
Even he misses sometimes, not often,
yeah,
but sometimes. And thankfully for Cali Thistle, it did drift wide, and the margin remains just at the 1 goal. But here's Jota playing it square, no Celtic player there to take advantage, as Devine knocks it away out for a throw over on the far side. They need to get to half time with no further damage inflicted, you would imagine, if they're to have a hope in the second half of trying to claw something back. 1-0 they trail, 3 minutes of the first half left. Kyogo, surprise, surprise, with the goal just a few minutes ago. Hopefully we'll find out at half time if he had touched the ball. I mean, it would seem incredible 38 minutes in if he hadn't touched it at all, but I certainly can't remember him really being on the ball before he knocked it past Matt Ridgers. But like Erling Haaland, he has that ability, just as Packy says, to come alive in the box when the opportunity presents itself, knows where to be. The movement is pretty much unmarkable. As Jota is fouled there. It's Welsh catching him from behind, and then Carson knocks the ball off Jota when he's lying on the ground. Callum McGregor didn't like that. Comes in, there's a bit of a melee there now developing. Yellow card shown to Carson for booting the ball off Jota. John Beaton obviously believing that was intentional. There was a quick apology from Carson, but potentially he did mean it. Welsh has stayed down as well after the initial challenge on Jota. It will be a Celtic free kick after all that, midway inside the Cali Thistle half. First yellow card of the day for David Carson, who missed the semi-final because of 3 yellow cards shown in the previous rounds. Back in the team today.
I'm undecided if he meant that, to be honest.
I'm in the same camp as you. I wasn't too sure, but at the same time, it has hit Jota in the head, so I think the referee's got right to take action. I think the Celtic fans got every right to be unhappy about it as well, but I don't think you could make too much of a fuss about it.
Celtic have taken the free kick. They've got just over a minute left in this first half. Not sure there'll be much in the way of stoppage time, as Taylor picks up and looks for a second goal before the interval. O'Reilly can't control it. Here come Cali Thistle on a counter. It's been led by Jay Henderson on the right hand side, crossing the halfway line. Nathan Shaw, the only real support, as Cali Thistle need to try and get bodies in if they can. It's knocked cross goal, but far too much on it from Jay Henderson, way beyond any potential teammates, all the way over to the far side. A Celtic throw in, and they need to make more of that type of situation.
Yeah, that's the difficulty though. You're almost back defending. You've defended for almost the full half, and then you get a wee chance to get up the pitch, but he was running out of almost space, but he was also running out of players to be around him so he could pass the ball, and he had to take on the cross, but there was nobody there.
There's a rare touch of the ball for Joe Hart. Picks the ball up untroubled inside his penalty area and bowls it out for Taylor. Just a few seconds left in the 45. Taylor has it back from Maida, and back it goes again to Starfelt, just inside his own half. Fourth official is David Dickinson. We'll wait and see if there's to be any added on time. Maida hasn't managed to keep the ball in as it was played forward to him. It's out for a throw-in to Cali Thistle. Indeed, there's to be no stoppage time as John Beaton blows the half-time whistle, and it's the Celtic fans who are the happier of the two sets as they go in at the interval. A goal up, but it hasn't been all that easy for them to break down a well-organised, well-structured Inverness Cali Thistle backline. Not too much trouble for Matt Ridgers before he ended up having to pick the ball out of the back of the net after 38 minutes. Matt O'Reilly had a couple of glimpses of goal, but it was he who created for Kyogo a cross goal from the right hand side, and Kyogo, who may or may not have had a touch prior to scoring, he lashed it beyond Matt Ridgers into the back of the net, and that's the only goal of the first half. He might have had a second, Kyogo, but he knocked wide to the outside of the right boot just after that. And so at half time, Billy Dodds and Inverness Cali Thistle with work to do in the second half to try and trouble Joe Hart at the other end. At the interval, it's Celtic 1, Inverness Cali Thistle 0.
The Scottish Cup Final.
Live on Sports Sound from BBC Radio Scotland.
Where Scottish football lives.
Yeah, Cali Thistle did so well for long periods of that first half, but eventually Celtic's class shone through. Kyogo, who else, with a really sharp finish there to break the hearts of the supporters down to our left-hand side. 6,000 Inverness Cali Thistle fans have made the journey here today. Tom English, their side, put up a very, very good fight, but it just seemed inevitable with that level of possession that Celtic had. Eventually, tiredness was set in and they would break through.
Yeah, look, I mean, they were doing really, really well. The concentration levels were very high, the discipline levels were very high, but there is a constant wave of pressure from Celtic. And Celtic, they didn't have a meaningful attempt really on target. They had one official attempt on target, but it was an easy save. And that was the first really, meaningful attempt, and they scored from it. And it's just all it takes is a second. When you have the movement, as the boys were saying, when you have the movement of Kyogo, all it takes, and it can happen in the split second as it did there. O'Reilly picks the right pass. Kyogo finds the space and boom, he sweeps it, and before Inverness know what's happened, the ball is back in the back of the net, and it happens that quickly with Kyogo. That's what makes him such a special player. He wasn't in the game at all, and next thing he scores the goal. And how many times have we seen that? This guy is he's a big occasion player. He's actually an any occasion player because he scores at any kind of occasion.
It's interesting, Tom, isn't it? See, when you're up here in this great vantage point and you watch his movement, you watch his runs. As a defender, you've got to be switched on at all times.
Well, like the thing about Kyogo, so we talk about his movement there, and we talk about his movement for the second one where he almost scored. He's a constant movement. It's just the ball doesn't get to him, 90% of the time, 95% of the time. But he's making these runs. He's finding little pockets of space. It's just most of the time people aren't seeing him in the space, or Inverness have done a good job defensively on him. But he keeps doing it and he knows, like in his own head, he will know, I will get a chance and I will score. He's that type of player. I just love watching him.
Yeah, for long periods in that first half, Leanne, it looked as if Billy Dodds had got his tactics spot on. He was quite coy when Martin asked him before the game. He clearly had a tactical plan, and the setup today was very, very solid.
Yeah, it's been good, really good. I probably jinxed him. I turned to Paul at 2 minutes before Celtic scored the goal just to say how impressed I was with how they'd set up the full-backs. I thought they were doing really, really well in terms of Harper and Duffy just stepping into the game at times, nullifying the threat of Jota and Maeda. Having to be brave in certain moments and trusting that your midfielders could track the runs from midfield, and we've seen that, the types of runs that O'Reilly ultimately then leads to the goal, where he takes up that space in between left centre back and full back. It's that space, no man's land almost, and a couple of times Inverness, as I say, had dealt with it really well. Ultimately Celtic are so good at it, and it's repetition, and as soon as you switch off for a split second, you're punished. But I think Inverness have got to take an awful lot from that first half performance. And when you look at a game, I think as a coaching group in preparation for a game like this, you would try and quarter the game up, and certainly for the first quarter in the first half, they were really good. It takes then until the 38th minute before Celtic find the breakthrough. But what Billy Dodds would have wanted from his group would be to be in the game at half time as well. Worst case scenario, that you're in the game and that you've got hope that you can go and get a goal, get a leveller in the second half. It has been a huge shift for them, an enormous amount of distance covered across the pitch to try and, as I say, keep that focus and concentration between the lines. It's just that success in terms of middle to front that's missing from Cali Thistle. Defensively, they've been good and they've worked it really well. Decision making, Jay Henderson at certain moments there just towards the end of the half, that you possibly could have gone in a 1v1 situation, perhaps win a free kick or a corner. That's what Inverness are going to need. It's going to need to take something like that, probably to get themselves back in the game. And I'm sure that's what Billy Dodds will be saying to the players at half time, just that little bit more being brave in certain areas of the pitch to try and cause yourself to be a threat.
The problem is, Paul Sheeran, having conceded there, and you guys were talking about it pre-match, that the lack of competitive game time for these Cali Thistle players could very quickly become a problem, Paul, in the second half. They've just had, in the past 4 weeks, 2 friendly games.
Yeah, and I think the demands of the game and the way they're having to get back to shape, having to work hard across the pitch, especially the 2 outside central midfielders, and Pat mentioned it with Taylor and Johnston going a little bit wider. The demands of that has become greater for them, and I think ultimately they had the warning sign beforehand when they give themselves too much to do and they can't get to O'Reilly with the ball down that channel. I'm not sure if it's a shot or he attempts to cross it or not before the goal, and then again he gets in because they're stretched that little bit more, and it's a bit more difficult for them then to cover the area. So for that point of view, it's difficult in terms of the work rate. There's real demands on them, and you're right, without match practice it's difficult to prepare for every eventuality. So in terms of their fitness, they'll be tested. Most teams are against Celtic. I think when they've secured possession and the 2 or 3 occasions they've done that, I think they probably then need a wee bit more pace at the top end of the pitch, or Samuels or a Mackay maybe, to allow them to go and stretch a game and get in behind Starfelt and Awata and maybe just test them a little bit more than they've been tested. And I think Billy will be ready for that. If he stays at 1-0, for another 20 minutes if he can. I'm sure he'll then probably make those sort of changes to try and go and get something from the game, but it's vital now that they keep it at 1-0.
I think they're trying, you know, Billy Dodds, he's trying to do the old Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope, you know, and for 42 minutes he got the rope, but I'm not sure now that he's behind, he's got the a-dope bit.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the players to do it. It's very, very hard. I mean, it's brutally hard. You know, this is a championship team, mid-table championship, below mid-table championship team, going up against the best team in the country. Championship team who haven't played in a month, a meaningful game in a month. They're behind now. Kyogo is just lethal. I can't see a way back for them. But you just hope for their sake it doesn't go to 2 and 3 and 4. But defensively, I think they've been excellent. They've really just switched off for one, maybe 2 times, the second time for Kyogo, but fatally for one lapse. The rest of the time, I think they've been frustrating Celtic. Celtic a bit scrappy. The whole thing has been...
I've looked a few times down here in front of us. I'll bring Pat Bonner in here. Hatate, a few misplaced passes. Yeah. Maeda's touch has not been great. They've not been what we've seen so often this season. It's not been electric from Celtic in this first half, Pat.
No, it hasn't. I think that was down to Inverness and the way that they were organised, and it was so tight and that congested in that middle. They were really struggling. You know, and if you've got players very, very tight in there, you stick out a leg, or the pass has got to be absolutely bang on. As soon as they opened it up a little bit, then the space opened up, and then you could see the quality, and then people will make the runs. You know, O'Reilly did make those couple of runs from that perspective, and that. Yeah, Celtic have done probably enough of possession, but you're right, maybe the passes early on weren't what we would expect. Maybe they weren't clinical enough, but they've got their goal now, and I just see this game developing into more possession, more chances. They'll go in at half-time, get refreshed, and they'll come out knowing that it's there for them to win, and it's very difficult for Inverness now. How are they going to get back into this game? And I think you're right, Paul. I think they probably need a little bit more pace. The young lad that's up front, Nathan Shaw, he doesn't look a quick one. He looks tall where they can go and hit, especially off the goal kicks and so on, but he's not the quickest to get down the side of the centre halves and so on, and he may have to reintroduce somebody into that position.
It's interesting that, just looking at the position of the Celtic players, it was touched on in commentary. We've spoken a lot, of course, about the inverted fullback since Ange Postecoglou came in. At times, the position of Taylor in the middle of the park there was... I mean, he was right in the centre circle at times there, wasn't he? And pushing forward from there.
I was clogging things up, I thought, and I just said it during the commentary that let's come 10 yards further wide.
Stretch the game, just use the pitch.
Open, and then Callum McGregor becomes your player. The centre half can step forward. We've seen one opportunity for Starfelt who drove forward when the space was there, and that's your free player. They can afford to maybe then leave it kind of 1v1 at the back. They don't need to have two players back there, and it just opens things up. And then you ask questions then of the midfielders. Will I go to the player who's coming forward, or do I track the player that's making the run? And that then creates a problem for the opposition.
So what on earth, Paul Sheeran, will Billy Dodds be saying to his players now? Does he keep the same shape, try and sit in and get the last 10 or 15 minutes and see if they can nick something, perhaps get a set piece?
I think they definitely have to reset. I think they'll take huge encouragement from that first 40 minutes in terms of their organisation. Obviously Celtic have changed that little tweak just to try and stretch him a little bit, but I think he'll be reinforcing the message he had before the game, definitely. I think if he can stay in it, like I said already, for that first 20-25 minutes, and then he can go and have a go, and I think he'll be telling them that as well. I think he'll be encouraging them to stay at 1-0 and letting them know that he will have a go at some stage, because they obviously need to, the longer it's at 1-0. So I think he'll be very positive, and just, like I say, just reinforcing that message as much as he can.
What's your assessment, Willie, of that first half? As Al said in commentary, many people were predicting this could perhaps be a record scoreline this afternoon. It still could be, because there's no doubt Inverness will tire in the second half, but so far they've put up a very, very good showing.
No, they have. They've been well organised, disciplined. They've tried to keep the ball particularly early in the game, which was absolutely correct. They've drifted out of it in that terms, but I don't think Celtic have been anywhere near at their best. You know, an awful lot of slack passes, an awful lot of unforced errors. Jota coming in on his right foot there. Why does he not have a strike at that? Starfelt coming from the back, he's 25 yards out. Have a strike at goal, takes a deflection, might end up in the back of the net. Pat was absolutely spot on. Because the two full-backs play inside, then all they were doing was running into Cali Thistle bodies. Once Postecoglou asked them to play wider, it became more difficult for Cali Thistle to contain them. And, unfortunately for Cali Thistle, they've got Kyogo. I'm not too sure if he's touched the ball before his goal, is he? I cannot remember seeing him actually touch the ball before his goal. I think that was his first touch.
It's been a common theme, though. That's the way that he plays. You remember back earlier in the season, the Old Firm match as well, the 2-2 match, that he scores the leveller. 6 touches he's had the whole game. 6 touches. But it's the goals that he scores are so important.
I think Al was very critical of him. Not getting the touch and then bang.
He's got a big smile on his face when he's saying that.
Al, it's on record. Al doesn't rate Kyogo.
The thing is, the way that he plays, regardless of whether he touches the ball or not, he's forcing a back line to defend, because at times he stands in an offside position, he plays in the opposite side, he drops short into a pocket of space, because he's so intelligent and recognises the movement of his teammates around him. He goes where he creates space for other players, but he's fantastic. What a finish as well, switched on, couple of yards. It's that turn of pace as well. Nobody can catch him, nobody can live with him.
And it's trademark, isn't it? Defender's there and he gets in front of the defender and it's in the back of the net.
Everything that you would want, really, from your striker in terms of that movement.
I don't know why he bothers running about putting goalkeepers under pressure. Why does he do that? You know what I mean? It's if he might even score more goals if he just concentrated on being a striker, and making these runs. And even his second chance where he's taking it with the outside of the foot, it's just a little. The defender's away. He thinks he's going in front of him because that's what he normally does. He checks and he goes into the space, and he's unlucky not to find the back of the net there. Oof. He's quite a player. So difficult to pin down.
What about Ange Postecoglou then, Tom? What will he make of that first half performance? He actually wasn't I was watching him down there, and despite it not being a vintage Celtic performance, he was quite calm. He wasn't very animated in that first 45.
No, he wasn't. He was very calm, as you say. I think he will remain calm. I think he's seen this type of thing a lot already as a Celtic manager. He's seen teams pack their midfield, pack their defence, be stubborn. And he trusts his team to break them down. He's lived this movie many times before.
Well, the teams are out for the second half. Let's see if Cali Thistle can stage some sort of comeback here at the National Stadium. I'll hand you back to Willie Miller, Pat Bonner and Alistair Lamont.
Thanks, Kenny. Half-time change for Celtic. It's Lee Labada who's come on for the second period, and he has replaced Dyson Maeda. So it's Jota across to the left-hand side of the Celtic attack, and Abada on his favoured right-hand side as Maeda is replaced. And Inverness Cali Thistle ready to get us back underway in this second period, trailing by a 0-0, trying somehow to get back on level terms and at least force extra time. But Celtic clearly will be looking to add to their advantage and put this game beyond Billy Dodd's side. We are back underway. And we'll see how Cali Thistle change approach, if at all, now that they are trailing. I suspect it will be maybe an hour or so into the game, as long as they can keep it at 1-0 before they think about taking a more attacking stance in the game, as they have it on the right hand side. It's Devine who just tries to clip it down the channel, looking for Shaw, who, like Kyogo, hasn't had that many touches, but somewhat less effective. As Celtic just make a little bit of a hash of things at the back, but they do manage to retain possession. Joe Hart, along with Starfelt and Iwata, almost getting in a bit of a mix-up, but they do still have it, and it's Iwata just inside his own penalty area. Ange Postecoglou does like his defenders to play out from the back, none of this aimless hoofing up the field. And Starfelt comes up towards the halfway line, out to the left hand side for Taylor. Still a glorious sunny day in the south side of Glasgow, and although we're in the shade at the back of the stands, still plenty of sun out there as Kyogo looks to race onto a ball, and out comes Ridgers, and the offside flag now goes up against Kyogo as Ridgers managed to block the effort from the Japanese striker, who looked to come alive again inside the penalty area. And after a minute and a half of the second period, it's Celtic 1, Inverness Cali Thistle 0.
Yeah, it was a really good ball from Alistair Johnson down the side of the centre half, between the centre half and the full back. Kyogo, he must have just been a half yard offside. Here's a chance.
Yeah, Henderson from way out doesn't really get a hold of the shot and is blocked on the edge of the penalty area by the Celtic defence. But it set up nicely for Henderson, actually, and sometimes these efforts from distance do come off, but not on that occasion, unfortunately for Jay Henderson. And it's back with Joe Hart. Bowls it out to Iwata, out to the right hand side now for Johnston. Back with Iwata and square for Starfelt. Forward he trots once more as Cali Thistle look to try and stay in the game for as long as possible. Here's O'Reilly though, he's got other thoughts, tries to feed Kyogo. Again, Ridgers is alert to the danger, comes to the edge of his penalty area and smothers the ball. Any difference, Willie Miller, that you've noticed in approach thus far from Cali Thistle?
Cali Thistle, no, exactly the same, still playing with the three up top, trying to put Celtic under initial pressure whenever they get the ball at the back, rather than them just strolling and building it up from there. So, Billy Dodds hasn't, that I can see anyway, changed anything. It's still the four at the back, the three in the midfield and three up top.
The thing is, you're saying up top, and they did start that way, and they have started the second half up top, but really for most of the first half they weren't really up top, where they were kind of nearing their own halfway line.
Well, the intent is to be up top, Alistair, and then they drift back.
Sure.
Which, if you do that, then you've got to make sure that your back four's pushed up, that your midfield, there isn't huge gaps between 4, 3 and 3. And of course, you are getting pushed back, the three, but they're still trying to get up. Listen, I watched Aberdeen at Celtic Park. They didn't try to get forward. At least I'm watching Inverness Cali Thistle here that's trying to pose a problem to Celtics. Maybe not working too great and putting them under pressure, but at least the thought process is there.
It's a brilliant pass out from the left to the right by Allardyce, almost trying to create something down the right for Cali Thistle, but it's quickly snuffed out, and Celtic looking to counter themselves for once. Allardyce has got a brilliant range of passing, and it was a wonderful switch of play, but it comes to nothing. But it all came about because Iwata was guilty of another slack pass from the back out for a Cali Thistle throw. It went, and just a little bit of encouragement for the underdogs, who have it back momentarily. McGregor though there before Shaw, and then Hatate drops it back to Starfelt just inside his own half. 49 on the clock. Celtic 1, Cali Thistle 0, as Joe Hart comes way out of his box and then plays it short to Iwata. Iwata out to the right hand side for Johnston, and Johnston looks to lift it over the top for Abada. Again, Ridgers well off his line to come out and clutch that before Celtic can get in behind.
Yeah, he's in good positions, Mark Ridgers. The one that he came down almost into the corner of his box, it's a long way to come, but he was there, so his positioning on that penalty spot, and he has to do that because the threat of Kyogo and Abada now over the top is going to be here's a big chance for
Jota. He's got away from Devine, down the left hand side he goes, almost at the goal line. Can he find a teammate in the middle? He's cutting in himself, then he tries the back heel for Hatate into O'Reilly can't find Jota again, and again it just looks slightly overly intricate from Celtic there, where maybe a simpler pass or even a shorter goal from Jota might have been the better option.
Yeah, or even just a cross, dare I say, into the box. And honestly, it doesn't have to be your own player that is coming off of. When defenders are retreating like that, going back towards their own goal, it could easily come off them and end up in the back of the net. Plus, it's much more difficult to defend. Okay, a cutback if you can pick out one of your teammates, but he didn't do that, and it was well away. I think just drive it across the face of the goal and play the law of averages. Yeah, one of your teammates might get there, but you could also say that perhaps a defender would get there as well, and that could be equally as dangerous.
Billy Mackay's hurt himself in a challenge with Iwata. There was nothing in it at all, really. It wasn't a foul by any means, but Billy Mackay has come off second best and immediately was flailing the arms in the air as if he was in a great deal of pain, and immediately John Beaton has stopped the game, and on come the Cali Thistle physios, and hopefully for Billy Mackay it's not game over for him.
No, he's sitting up at the end of it. I don't know whether he twisted his knee because I'm just looking at here on the thing. Oh, he did. It's gone under him. I think his knee's gone under him when he's. Just see it here. Maybe, hopefully, he's okay.
He's back on his feet and walking without too much of a limp. So maybe just the initial pain of the
maybe a fear, a fright.
Yeah, that he was going to do a real bad one. But thankfully, it looks like there's no lasting damage there for Billy Mackay. And hopefully, he will return to the fray in just a moment after going off, having received the treatment. 52 minutes on the clock. Celtic won thanks to Kyogo's 38th minute goal. Inverness Cali Thistle 0. As the drop ball goes Celtic's way, and Iwata picks up possession from McGregor. And now Johnston back to his captain. Little triangle, and it's Iwata once more. Now Starfield just inside his own half, out to the left hand side now with Taylor. Taylor feeds it forward when he can't find a teammate, and Duffy picks up and plays it infield to Henderson. Now it's Shaw, and then out to the right hand side once more for Duffy. Shaw had continued his run. Duffy tried to find him. He doesn't find the pass, but it's a good ball in from Duffy, and then sliding in there was Shaw, but Celtic managed to clear the lines. But just a little bit of panic in the Celtic back line there as Cali Thistle come forward for more or less the first time in the game and try to cause a threat inside the Celtic penalty area. But it comes to nothing. Cali Thistle have got it back. It's the impressive Allardyce. Was he just tugged back there by Hatate? Was, and it's a free kick to Cali Thistle, but a good move in the end up from Cali Thistle, Willie.
Yeah, definitely. You know, at least it's a threat, isn't it? And that's what I was saying. You know, Billy Dodds has set them out. Yeah, to defend. Yeah, sometimes they're getting pushed back. You need to defend, but you've got to, you know, try and make them think a little bit. And they had to think defensively there. You know, as Duffy went down the right hand side, and the cross coming into the box is a difficult one to defend. I think it's Iwata that eventually gets it. He's not too convincing.
Here's a free kick from deep from Cali Thistle, but it's an easy take for Joe Hart. He's not a lot to do in the game, but he took that cleanly and well, and he tries to throw it out and look for Abada. Comes off Robbie Dees, and out for a throw-in on the halfway line to Celtic, taken by Johnston. Quickly back to Iwata, who plays it square midway inside his own half for Carl Starfelt. Celtic, a couple of defeats in their last 4 games, but prior to that they've been pretty imperious, unbeaten in 34 domestic games. Before that, winning 32 of those. They have been close to unstoppable all season, certainly domestically. And if Ange Postecoglou does stay in charge, it will be really interesting to see what kind of challenge they can make in the Champions League next season, especially if he's able to strengthen even further. Anyway, that's for another day. They lead Cali Thistle here by a goal to 0, and they're in possession through Greg Taylor out on the left hand side, just crossing the halfway line. 10 minutes gone in the second period, still 1-0 Celtic. And here's Jota just evading the challenge out in the Celtic left, cuts it into the penalty area, headed down there by Abada into a dangerous area, but knocked away by a Cali Thistle boot. Out of the penalty area it goes. Celtic pick up once more though. Iwata gets it back to Johnston, right hand side, midway inside the Cali Thistle half. Again, Cali Thistle funneling bodies back behind the ball. Everyone now in blue and red in that position. It's Iwata about 10 yards inside the Cali Thistle half, plays it short for Johnston, gets it back once more. The Japanese midfielder come defender, and now Starfelt. Cameron Carter-Vickers, of course, missing from that Celtic lineup ever since the title was clinched, and they do miss him. Certainly they missed him in those 2 defeats against Rangers and Hibs for sure. And Kobayashi, the other central defender, not quite ready, you would say, to play quite at the same level as Carter-Vickers, and it's Iwata who gets the nod this afternoon. But he hasn't been overly troubled, Packy, you would have to say.
No, not you know, even that last set piece, Celtic held a very high line, but the ball in was almost too high, and Joe Hart came and just plucked it out. You've got to get in around Iwata, especially in delivering, and just in on top of him, and see if somebody can come off him.
Celtic have it. It's Matt O'Reilly, central area, but he's running to Allardyce. Allardyce dispossession and then charges forward now. Can he find a pass out to the right hand side? He was looking for Henderson and then it doesn't quite come off, and then Shaw tries to help it on to Henderson and that doesn't work either, and it's out of play. But I must say, Willie Miller, Scott Allardyce, I've seen him a lot over the last couple of years covering the Championship, but today in particular he looks like the one Caley Thistle player who doesn't look remotely out of his depth. He's cool and calm and he's trying to get forward when possible.
He was direct there, wasn't he? You know, and I think it was the right thing to do. And Celtic again, very untidy.
Here come Caley Thistle. Shaw looking to latch onto the pass. Iwata read it and showed a good enough turn of pace that he was able to get across and cover. But just a couple of glimpses there for Caley Thistle that they might just be able to get in and test this Celtic back line.
Yeah, Celtic giving the ball away. You know, silly passes. Lack of probably relationships between the players. You can see they're not on the same wavelength at times, and they give it away, and that creates the opportunity for Inverness Caley to try to exploit it. Just Iwata at that time read the situation well. He had to read it well, because if he didn't, they were in.
Here comes Celtic. O'Reilly just inside the penalty. Kyogo. It's a poor touch from Kyogo, but it does find its way back to O'Reilly, who goes for goal, and it comes off Cameron Harper for a Celtic corner. Time to nip down to Martin Dowden, who's our pitchside reporter. News of a Celtic change.
Yes, it will be the first change of the final for Celtic. That time that Ange Postecoglou usually makes a few, this time just one. It is O coming onto the pitch, and Kyogo Furuhashi is the man who will make way. His final act of the season, a goal in the final. You presume that's down to the injury concern he had last week. He's coming off.
Yeah, now he was just struggling a wee bit about a couple of minutes ago too. He was kind of labouring coming back out, and he put his hand up to the bench, and that's so it obviously is that injury that he's just feeling a little bit.
Well, he's done his bit. That is the first Celtic change since the previous one, Martin. Thanks. It's O for Kyogo. Abada, remember, coming on at half-time for Maida. But Kyogo has more than played his part. It's a huge hug from his manager. The only goal of the game so far, 59 minutes played. The Celtic prepared to take the corner kick from the right-hand side. It'll be O'Reilly, whose shot was charged down. It is O'Reilly, left-footed, one for Starfelt to attack, but he's well matched in there by Dees. It breaks to the edge of the penalty area. Hattati knocks it all the way back to Johnston, the edge of the centre circle. Almost an hour played now at Hampden, still 1-0. Here's Iwata coming forward up to the edge of the box. Taylor now left hand side. It's cut out initially, but Celtic recycle it and back in possession. It's Abada on the left hand side, cutting in onto the right foot. It's a poor attempt at a cross from Abada, who hasn't been able to make an impact as yet with almost an hour played. It's a goal kick to Inverness Caley Thistle, who trailed by a goal to 0.
Yeah, you've got to expect better than that, Pat, haven't you? I think it's been a rather scrappy second half. It wasn't that much better in the first half by Celtic. Yeah, they've dominated it and they deserve to be in the lead, absolutely. But I think they can play much better. You know, they can move the ball slicker and they can be much more accurate with either their crosses or their passes.
Abada's lost out to Welsh in the middle of the park. His ball forward though for Harper is well seen by Iwata. He does read the game very well. Caley Thistle will pick up possession once more, and it's Dees trying the big switch of play out to the right hand side for Duffy, who can't reach it.
The one thing when Inverness do, you know, if Celtic do give the ball away, they've got bodies in those forward positions. Yeah. You know, and they become a threat then, absolutely. And you're right, Willie, it's been very scrappy at times from their passing from Celtic. You'd expect much better from them.
Celtic have it at the back. It's Johnston for Iwata just outside the penalty area. Caley Thistle did come from behind to beat Celtic the last time the pair met at Hampden back in the 2015 semi-final. There was controversial circumstances involved right enough when Lee Griffiths' goal-bound header was saved on the line by Josh Meeking's arm, only for nothing to be given. And then Craig Gordon was sent off for Celtic, and that helped Caley Thistle turn it round and finished 3-2 after extra time. They would take that, that's for sure, this afternoon. But they do trail by a goal to 0 with 61 on the clock. Kyogo, the only goal scorer, his 34th of the season. A season which has been quite magnificent for the Japanese striker. Here's Allardyce. Again, knows where the pass is, knows where his teammates are without even seemingly looking. And he finds the pass, and it's Henderson who's taken down there by Jota. Looks askance at the referee. He says, what was wrong with that? But it did seem to be a foul, and it will be a Celtic, Inverness Cali Thistle free kick about 10 yards inside the Celtic half, and a chance for them to throw bodies forward and try and get a shot in that's going to trouble Joe Hart.
Yeah, work at this time. Don't put it into an area where Joe can come. It's well out. Celtic a very high line. Just maybe a late runner or block somebody off and get them in.
Martin will have news of a Cali Thistle change shortly, but we'll let this free kick play out first. And it's Welsh.
It's the same.
It's a poor ball right into the arms of Joe Hart, and Welsh is definitely capable of better than that. Martin, why don't you tell us about the change is going to be for Cali Thistle?
Well, I can tell you it is being delayed for the moment, but it will be Dan Mackay coming on. Not clear who's coming off at the moment, but expect him to enter the fray in a minute or two.
Thanks, Martin. We'll keep an eye on that then. 62.5 minutes played, and Billy Dodd's about to roll the dice for the first time. Dan Mackay, who got on the score sheet as well as an assist in the semi-final against Falkirk, about to come on loan from Hibs, a youth product though of the Cali Thistle Academy, and a bright prospect. What kind of impact will he be able to make? Celtic have it. It's Johnston in the right back position, up towards Atati. He can't hold on to it though. Welsh has it and finds Carson, centre circle, invites Duffy forward from the right back position, midway inside the Celtic half. Cali Thistle just feels like they played a little bit more of the game in Celtic's half.
Yeah, they have.
This second period.
Absolutely, Al. I think from the get-go in the second half, they've been higher up the pitch, and they've got better possession, a little bit more risk.
That's been a good second half. I think Billy Dodge will be more than pleased with how his team is affecting this game, and I think Ange Postecoglou, watching them down there, he looks a little bit frustrated because Celtic are nowhere near the quality that they're capable of. Yeah, they're in the lead, but you know, I think Cali Thistle are feeling good about themselves just now. I think the tactics are certainly giving them something to think about defensively as well, which is refreshing to see because you don't see that enough in the Premiership. And all round, I think Billy Dodge will be thinking and hoping that there's still a chance in this final for them.
The thing I mentioned previously about potential, you know, people thinking that's a poor challenge on Hatate. Play allowed to continue actually because Celtic's still in possession and in a decent position. Is also taken out of play there by D. Still the game's allowed to go on. It's McGregor inside the penalty area. Goal for Celtic! Lee Labada with a finishing touch. Cali Thistle were taking bodies in the middle of the park, but it was to no avail as McGregor found Abada inside the 6-yard box, and surely now the game is done and dusted. It's Celtic 2, Inverness Cali Thistle 0.
Yeah, they take the quick free kick. We've seen that so many times from them, and then they exploit the space. Obviously, the Cali Thistle players have committed into tackles, obviously taking themselves out of the game also, and Celtic exploiting that really quickly and getting their all-important second goal in the body, getting themselves into that position again, raying round about 4 yards out from goal to tap it into the back of the net. I just wonder, will it be checked? Will that pass from for I think the first pass was out to Jota. I'm not sure if there was any hint of offside at that point in time.
Yeah, there's two Celtic players being wiped out there in the build-up. I think the referee did well to continue play because there's a couple of occasions he could have brought it back for a free kick, and maybe even yellow cards involved in both of the tackles. He allowed it to go on, and then McGregor, is it the McGregor pass? Is it the check for offside when McGregor picks it up and then cuts it back? But possible offside. I think that's what they're checking. The McGregor run forward, whether it was offside and whether it was just a little bit too early making that run forward.
Yeah, certainly they are checking for a possible offside. Not clear on our monitors precisely.
I just thought when maybe also picked the ball up in that forward position, he played the ball, was it to Jota, who was just and he was a wee bit slow in his pass, getting the pass away, and it might just at that moment be interesting.
Yeah, well, John Beaton is delaying the restart while VAR is Stephen McLean. The whistles from the Celtic fans because clearly they want this goal to stand, which would probably put them out of sight of Inverness Cali Thistle with about 24 minutes left on the clock. Cali Thistle fans watching will be hoping and praying that this is judged to be offside. John Beaton.
That's very, very tight.
Yeah,
I think
just seen an image. It does look tight.
Yeah. But surely they can put the lines on it very quickly, and and you're either off or you're not off.
You would think so, yeah. You would think so.
Well, I think you can tell from that cheer what the decision is.
Yeah, it's a goal.
It's a Celtic goal, and it's Lee Labada's 13th goal of the season. And Celtic have a 2-goal advantage as the change is made, and it is Dan Mackay coming on for Jay Henderson. It's a change that was going to be made anyway, but Cali Thistle find themselves 2 goals down, Willie. And if they had an uphill task on their hands at the start of the game, surely it's beyond them now.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I think they've taken part in the final. You know, I think the tactics have been good. They've certainly taken what they've been working on for the last month onto the field of play. And I think Billy Dodds can be happy with it. Obviously not happy with the second goal in particular, but it was poor defending, I've got to say, too, diving into challenges, and good refereeing to allow it to continue. But they've taken part in the final, Packy. That's what I think. You know, you've seen, Premiership teams coming and playing against Celtic, not taking part. So they're 2-0 down. It's a long way back. Not going to come back from that. But at the same time, they can go away with their heads held high.
Yeah, and they'll be hoping that they might still get one chance in this game to get themselves back into it. But it's going to be difficult. But yeah, I think you're right, Willie. You didn't have to dive into those tackles. Just stand up. Don't commit yourself. It takes you out of the game also.
It does. That's you done. You're finished. Yeah. Two defenders out of the game completely.
Yeah, it was the 2 centre-backs, I think, Devine and Dees, who both committed themselves. Here comes Celtic again, edge of the penalty area. Hattati trying to just chip it into the box, but he can't connect with a teammate, and Mark Ridge is able to gather. In terms of the first challenge by Devine, Paggy, I thought play had continued, but actually, did you think the free kick was actually very quickly taken? I think you're right. I think you're right on the replay. It was so quick, I didn't even notice it.
I don't know whether it was taken quickly or the referee allowed to play on, but the second one then,
here's Dan Mackay going in.
Certainly he let play go on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Hart just rising above Mackay there before the substitute can make any impact as the ball was played through the middle. Joe Hart's had virtually nothing to do, and Cali Thistle need to try and change that as Jota is dragged back, and there's going to be a yellow card shown there.
See if that's a yellow card. That first challenge, the free kick was given, was a yellow card. That was my point, was that he could have stopped the game there and showed, he could have shown the yellow card for any of the 2 challenges in the lead up to the goal.
Yeah, sensible refereeing, I think we have to, and good refereeing, have to say, and Celtic taking full advantage of it with the second goal of the game through Lee Labada, adding to Kyogo's first half strike, and Celtic on course for an 8th domestic treble. Here they come again, looking for more goals. It's blocked well by Devine in there as he tried to turn the ball from the angle of the 6-yard box across goal. But good challenge from Devine.
Yeah, what does Billy do now? Does he almost? It's very hard. He's obviously made the substitution, but does he change shape in any way? Well, that's very difficult to put 2 up top. And
I mean, in the second half, for most of the game, he said the 3 up there, or the 3 trying to get up there. Back, I'm not too sure what more he can do, to be perfectly honest. Maybe just hope that they can get something back and take this to the final stages of the cup final. But Celtic are on fire now, playing a lot more comfortable football.
Yeah, the confidence is flowing through them again. And they certainly hit a little bit of a dip after securing the title, but they were right back in form against Aberdeen last time out. So today's performance is not quite come out of nowhere, but it's uncharacteristic, let's say. But Cali Thistle, credit to them.
But that's the little simple pass there from Matt O'Reilly. It doesn't go to Hattati and allows the defender to come in, or the midfielder to come in and put the tackle. And that's been almost consistent throughout the game today. Not quite accurate in their passing.
Well, it's kind of all or nothing now for Billy Dodds and Inverness Cally Thistle with just under 20 minutes remaining. If you're losing a cup final 2-0, you'd be as well losing it 3 or 4. Clearly you don't want it to get to a ridiculous scoreline, but while it's at 2-0, you might as well go for it, try and get something to get you back into the game, something to play for. But it's Celtic still doing the attacking. 2-0 they lead, 71.5 minutes on the clock. And just slowing the game down now, Greg Taylor, who will join up with the Scotland squad tomorrow.
Yeah, he's had a terrific season, hasn't he? He deserves a good run from Mo.
Yeah, it looks potentially like he's gone offside, but the flag stays down as he picks up the ball left-hand side of the box, tries to angle the shot in and goal. Now the assistant's flag goes up. It will be a free kick for offside to Inverness Cally Thistle. We've got, 18 minutes of the match remaining. Celtic 2, Inverness Cally Thistle 0.
Yeah, probably 2 or 3 yards offside, I would suggest. But that's the rules. We've got to allow play to continue.
Frustrating rule, though, isn't it?
It is very frustrating.
When you're that far offside, just put the flag up.
Yeah.
Matt Ridgers takes the free kick long over the halfway line, flicked on. One for Billy Mackay to chase. He's looking for that elusive goal that would take him level with Dennis Wyness on 101 as the club's record goal scorer. There's a lot of Cally Thistle players out of contract, and I think they were waiting to after today as Ridgers makes a real hash of a clearance. Can Abada take advantage? He's got Hatate in support. He waits instead for O'Reilly. Edge of the box, goes for goal. Good take from Ridgers. Comfortable save, really one you'd expect him to make, but recovering after his own error almost gifted Celtic a third goal. Yeah, there was a kind of a panic station of a pass, and he nearly put his team in trouble, but got away with it. Inverness is opening up now. They're not quite as structured as they were. No, but they're looking for a goal here. Billy Mackay, was he dragged to the ground there? John Beaton just turns away, not interested, as Mackay went down on the edge of the penalty area. Yeah, decent shot, wasn't it, for a free kick? He got the wrong side of Wata.
Yeah, looked like an infringement there because Wata didn't defend it particularly well. Mackay had got the better of him, but the referee was right there. He had it all in front of him. He could see if there was contact, but from up here, looked as though there was. Well, VAR would potentially get involved if it was a red card offence potentially at play, which it might well have been for denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity should there have been any foul play. But Stephen McLean will no doubt be checking that as the play continues. It hasn't gone out of play yet, so we don't really know. There's going to be another change, which Martin will tell us about the next time the ball goes out of play, which is now. Martin Dowden.
There will be a double change for Inverness. Zach Delaney and Austin Samuels will come onto the pitch. We'll see who's coming off in a minute. It's a hover here above the dugout, though. There's been so much plotting from Barry Wilson and Billy Dodds. I think that change they made before Dan Mackay just came too late for what they were trying to implement. It is Billy Mackay who will make way, and Danny Devine also coming off the pitch. So last throw of the dice for Billy Dodds.
Yeah, well, Billy Mackay missed out on a medal in 2015. He left the club a few months prior, and although played in the earlier rounds, didn't get a medal for that one. Danny Devine did, but his game is at an end. Aaron Doran also played in that game. He's still on the bench for Cally Thistle as Austin Samuels and Zach Delaney come on to replace the pair with 15 minutes remaining at Hampden. It's Celtic 2, Inverness Cally Thistle 0. I can tell you that any VAR check regarding that challenge on Billy Mackay a few moments ago came to nothing, as play is back underway, although there's going to be a Celtic change as well. Martin, you got news of those players coming on?
Yes, we will have Sead Haksabanovic coming onto the pitch, and it will be Rio Hatate who makes way, getting a bit of an ovation here from the Celtic crowd, given his contribution over the course of the season. It will be Matt O'Reilly also coming off, and David Turnbull will come on in his place.
So double Celtic change. Turnbull, who's been restricted largely to substitute appearances of late, and Sead Haksabanovic as well, who again mainly featured Pakiezda as a squad player, really, as a substitute, but he has made an impact at times off the bench.
Yeah, and he can play those different positions. He can play wide, or he can play in where he'll play now, more in the centre of the pitch. I think he's probably better in the centre. He's very right-footed, as we know, and when he does play over that left, he keeps cutting in all the time. But he's got a bit of pace about him. There's also a goal in him at times.
Celtic have it at the back. It's Iwata back to Joe Hart. Doesn't strike it quite as neatly as he would have liked to, and it just bobbles slightly, but Celtic hold on to possession. That's lovely play from David Turnbull. Really elegant play from the substitute, and now he finds Jota left hand side, continues his run left hand side of the box. Turnbull up against Delaney, he's challenged well by the looks of it. In fact, the free kick goes Cali Thistle's way, as Turnbull just held on to Delaney after the challenge. It's a free kick to Cali Thistle. 13 minutes to play. Celtic 2, Inverness Cali Thistle 0.
Yeah, it's nice play, isn't it? I mean, he's just David Turnbull just on the field of play as well, and showing the quality that he's got. And I'm looking at, Matt O'Reilly, Maeda and Hatate, and I think they've underperformed, the three of them that have been substituted. So I don't know about Maeda, if he was injured or something at half time, because I think it was made at half time.
Yeah, it was
change, wasn't it? Although the change rules, I think, makes it better to change at half time as well. But I don't think these three have been at the same standard that we've watched them participate for most of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they have been excellent. You can basically go through that entire Celtic squad, and certainly the starting 11, and say they have had terrific seasons for the most part. But
I think O'Reilly has been the most effective of them. He obviously contributed to the goal. He got himself into decent possessions. But Hatate's passing wasn't what we've come to expect from him, because he's a terrific footballer, and that. But it's just one of those days, I would say, he put it down to.
I think it's been all round though, Pat, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of the Celtic play, they've been good, they deserve it, there's no doubt about it. But they set such high standards that when they drop a little bit below it, then you're quite surprised, particularly at this level, in a cup final.
That's a good bit of play on the left hand side. Goes for the acrobatic effort, completely misses his kick, holds his head in his hands as Cali Thistle clear the lines up to Samuels. Samuels holding off Starfelt, but Iwata nips in and clips it forward, headed away by Harper. He gets it back from Welsh. Harper down the left hand side this time, going back the way was Johnson. Johnson feeds it down the Celtic right. Cali Thistle again clear the line. Samuels though can't link with Carson, and it's back in Celtic's possession, as it has been for the vast majority of the game, and they do look like they will run out pretty comfortable winners.
I think so.
The 2-goal margin is probably about right, isn't it?
Yeah, from a possession point of view, they've controlled the game from that perspective. They've made a couple of chances, not a lot. Would expect more chances from them in the possession they have, but I think they've dominated most of the game. I can't remember. I think there was one cross into the box from Inverness.
Here's Haksabanovic left hand side for Celtic up against Shaw, who's gone back very deep to try and prevent a third Celtic goal. 1-2 there with Jota, and the shot coming in from Haksabanovic, but it's well off target. We've just got over 10 minutes left here at Hampden as the Scottish Cup final begins to head to a close. Celtic look like they're heading for a 41st Scottish Cup final, an 8th treble. It'll be a 115th major domestic honour in their history, and they are seemingly beginning another period of domestic dominance as Cali Thistle are about to make another double change. Martin Dowden.
Yes, another couple of changes. It will be Scott Allardyce coming off the pitch, and Roddy McGregor will replace him, and Nathan Shaw also coming off, and it will be that man Aaron Doran, who played such a big part in the previous cup win for Inverness. He'll get the final 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, nice to see Aaron Doran getting on the field. He is one of the many who are out of contract. I'm sure the club will look to try and extend at least some of those deals as they build for next season and another promotion push. Just a word about Scott Allardyce, really. As I said a couple of times, I thought he was probably their best player. How do you feel he played yourself?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to judge, but I think what Cali Thistle has done, they've taken part Allardyce in the midfield. I think he looks as though he's a player that is pretty direct. He's got good belief in himself as well. and you know, he's done as good as he possibly could in that midfield area, which is really strong for Celtic in a game that really they haven't had domination. So the little kind of glimpses that we've had of him have been impressive.
Here's Turnbull though for Celtic, up to O on the edge of the box, out to Abada. He's already got one onto the left foot, tries to go for the opposite top corner, but that's one all wrong, and it's behind for a goal kick. Celtic 2, Cali Thistle 0 with 8.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, poor execution at the end, coming back in on his left foot. I think from Celtic's perspective, the two that I would pick out as our best players is Greg Taylor and Iwata, believe it or not, even though he's not been tested defensively too much, but he's lent himself to the game, read the game quite well, and he's had a decent performance for playing in a position that probably is not his best position.
No, certainly he's more of a midfielder as what we've learned about him, but he's adapted as he's had to, as Cali Thistle get a free kick and they send it into the penalty. Dan Mackay though can't reach it, and they haven't really have had very few opportunities, Willie, but the set pieces they've had, they haven't made the most of them.
Yeah, deliveries haven't been good enough. Al, you know, I think what you want to do is put it into an area that's difficult to defend, and that just hasn't happened. You know, they're either been overhit or it's been into the hands of Joe Hart, and just far too easy for Celtic to defend against them. And you know, when you're playing against a team with the quality that Celtic have, then you've got to rely on set pieces to try and get yourself and at least get the Celtic defence tested, and they haven't been tested at all, you know, and it's all down to the delivery, the quality of delivery from all the set pieces hasn't been good enough for Cali Thistle.
Celtic have blown teams away at times this season. That certainly hasn't happened this afternoon. Cali Thistle will emerge from this final with pride and great credit, but ultimately looks like it's going to be runners-up medals as well. Celtic edge ever closer to a 5th treble in 7 seasons. It's quite remarkable. Here come Cali Thistle as Ridgers launches it long over the halfway line. It is Iwata who gets his head to it, taken down by Dees, just in the edge of the centre circle. Carson now battling away there with Turnbull, gets the pass through to McGregor, who's had a long time out through injury, but back on the field of play. That's a great ball in. Mackay scored! Inverness, Cali Thistle have got to go back, and maybe that dream is still alive. What a ball in it was from the right hand side, and there was Dan Mackay who scored in the semi-final, and Billy Dodds pumps the fist because Cali Thistle have found a way back into the game. It's Celtic 2, Cali Thistle 1.
It's a brilliant goal though, isn't it? I mean, Wallace Duffy with a cross from the right hand side, and we were talking about a delivery from set plays, but an open play, that's just magnificent. And Daniel Mackay just ghosting in at the back post, and a diving header, you know, put it past Joe Hart and goal. But it's about the quality of the cross for me. Yes, the timing of the run from Mackay, and you know, I think Cali Thistle deserve it because the kind of attitude they've had towards this game.
Here's Jota trying to restore the 2-goal advantage, but their first shot on target that I can remember, and it's a Cali Thistle goal. Dan Mackay with just a 5th goal of the season. He scored a cracker in the semi-final as well, and he powered that one past Joe Hart, who had not an earthly way down to his right hand side.
And it was a cross. Well, it's absolutely bang on. The cross had made it when you almost get it between the goalkeeper and the last defender, which was Iwata, and then all you've got to do is just get in behind. But the cross made it, absolutely made it.
Well,
we have a finish.
Yeah, they've got 5 minutes plus stoppage time to try and find a leveller. And having barely threatened Joe Hart's goal all afternoon, they've clawed one back. We do have a game on our hands for the closing stages here. Celtic have the free kick on the halfway line. Can they see this out as they looked like they were coasting to victory? all of a sudden it's game on once more.
Well, he couldn't really see a goal coming from Inverness. That was the point. You know, most of the game we didn't see it. It's the one big chance that they had to get that ball in the box, and of course getting somebody on the end of it, which is crucial.
Yeah, but I think the intent has always been there, though, Pat, isn't it? You know, it's not as if they've just played with the one, you know, up top. You know, I think we've said all along that Billy Dodd should be applauded for the fact that, you know, he's tried to cause Celtic issues. They haven't been able to do it, but that's just the golf inequality. But then, you know, later on he's made the substitutions as well, and all of a sudden the substitute pops up. It's a great cross in from the right-hand side, and you know, he couldn't really miss it, to be perfectly honest. It was such a good cross, his diving header, and it nestles in the back of the net. And I think they deserve it. You know, as we've said, I think Celtic well ahead in overall quality, but the refreshing aspect to the cup final is that Cali Thistle has came here and at least tried to cause the champions a problem or two.
There was a Cali Thistle player down a moment ago with what seemed to be a head knock. That was the reason for the stoppage. Celtic fans weren't happy as their team were in possession, but it's resumed once more, and Celtic have it. It's back with Joe Hart, beaten by that Dan Mackay header from the Roddy McGregor delivery from the right hand side. What a cross it was, as the guys have been saying. And all of a sudden Celtic know they are back in a game. 2-1 they lead, 87.5 minutes played. Celtic in possession, just looking to get over the line here. Haksabanovic, right hand side, well challenged by Welsh, picked up by Doran. Doran's given it away though, then tries to put pressure on Johnston to win it back, but it's back to the Celtic keeper Joe Hart. Is it short to McGregor, gets it back, as they just scurry to his right slightly, as McGregor's pass was somewhat misplaced, and it's a very dodgy looking pass out from the back by Hart, but Turnbull manages to get to it. Then Haksabanovic picks up, tries to turn away from his marker, does well, rides a couple of challenges. Turnbull out to the right hand side for Abada. Abada on the right, Turnbull continues his run, right hand side, flashes it across goal, well blocked in the middle there by Delaney, as look to try and make an impression and turn in a third Celtic goal. Still 2-1, a minute and a half of the 90 plus stoppage time to play. Turnbull into the feet of Haksabanovic, midway inside the Cali Thistle half. The championship side need it up the other end. It's Turnbull will keep in possession for Celtic, and now Abada. Celtic just need to keep the ball, keep possession, and the treble will be theirs, the Scottish Cup will be theirs. It's Callum McGregor bursting forward. Now he finds Haksabanovic, big chance to bury it. Oh, it's a good save from Richards, just stuck out the right boot and blocked it. Not sure it was necessarily going on target, but certainly he makes the block, because Haksabanovic should have done better. Here comes Celtic again though, left hand side now, just playing a few short passes, just trying to take this sting out of the game into the final minute of the 90. David Dickinson approaches the touchline with the board as the ball's flashed across goal, just helped away by Cammy Harper back there. Mark Ridgers just a moment ago making a really good save.
Good save with his foot. He got his angles all right. It was quite a tight angle to beat them on it. Some of those you can slide under the goalkeeper, but this time he got his foot to it and made a really good save.
All eyes on David Dickinson's board here. Billy Dodd's right out the edge of his technical area with the fourth official, as we await the decision on how much time will be added on. 6 minutes. 6 minutes for Cali Thistle to find a leveller, or 6 minutes for Celtic to see out and once again lift that Scottish Cup.
That has given the Inverness players a bit of almost a motivation, didn't it?
Here comes Celtic though. It's Abada looking to latch on to O's pass, stands up to the back post. It'll come for Jota! That's it all over. Jota finishes Cali Thistle off once and for all, getting on the end of Abada's cross at the back post and stretching the right leg to knock it beyond Ridgers. It's Celtic 3, Inverness Cali Thistle 1.
Yeah, I think the defender missed it at the back post, didn't he? He could have headed it and he didn't, and it dropped to Jota and just toe poked it past Ridges and the Cali goal. But obviously it was a decent cross to the back post, but one that could be dealt with, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Duffy. I think it was a full-back that misread the flight of the ball as it came over from Abada, and Jota takes it down on the chest, really, and as he's falling, he just drives it into the back of the net with the right foot. I think Ridges is at the near post. I think that's where he should be, Pat. I don't think in any way you could point the finger at a goalkeeper, but I think the defender could have done better. All he needs to do is get a little touch on it, the cross at the back post, and he doesn't. He just mistimes the flight of the ball. It drops over him, and there's Jota to take advantage of it.
Jota, who scored the crucial winning goal in the semi-final against Rangers, gets the one that puts the nail in Cali Thistle's coffin in terms of this final, and he will be replaced for the final few minutes of stoppage time by James Forrest, who is about to equal Scott Brown's trophy haul record of 22, and a 6th Scottish Cup victory for James Forrest, who'll come on for these closing minutes. He's been a bit of a bit part player this season. Nonetheless, he's been a wonderful servant to Celtic, and here he is in possession on the left-hand side with 4 minutes of stoppage time remaining. That was a real killer blow to Cali Thistle, who, when the 6 minutes went up on the board, Willie, they just got, as you say, a bit of a lift, and then all of a sudden all the air was sucked out of them with that Jota goal. Here comes Celtic again with that straight into the arms of Mark Ridgers, and it remains Celtic 3, Inverness Cali Thistle 1.
No, absolutely. You know, I think they get one back, and that gives them hope. They get 6 minutes time added on, and that gives them extra hope. But you know, it's a well-worked goal. Abada down the right-hand side, but it should have been dealt with. You know, I think defensively Billy Dodge will be a little bit unhappy that Wallace Duffy didn't do better. Just getting a little touch on it, that's all that was needed.
Here's Doran at the other end, into the penalty area it goes, but Celtic managed to get that clear, and there's a mass huddle going on around Hampden, and the upper tier of the south stand is positively shaking under the weight of all the Celtic fans bouncing around, enjoying the moment as their team looks set to lift the Scottish Cup for a 41st time.
Well, it's another treble also. I think it's a world record, isn't it? Somewhere.
Sure is. Yeah. Sure is.
Which is unique. To win a treble is not easy, as we talked about before the game, and to do it after they were in such turmoil a couple of years ago was quite incredible.
Always done well to win it from Harper. Inside the penalty area he goes, but swept away eventually by Delaney, who's gone back there. And Cali Thistle, they're out on their feet now. The energy has just been sapped out of them by that third goal. Here's Turnbull looking to add further to their misery. Oh, picks up edge of the penalty area, well blocked by Dees. Carson gets the ball clear to Welsh, who's taken out of play. Play continues with Cali Thistle still on the ball. It's McGregor, looks to lift it over the top. One for Mackay to chase. Out of his goal comes Joe Hart, who will indeed become the third player in history to win a clean sweep of British trophies after Kenny Dalglish and Andrew Kanchelskis. Not bad going. Celtic still in possession. James Forrest still got a good turn of pace down that left flank. He goes. Duffy trying to stick with him. Still Forrest down at the corner flag. Just a minute left of the 6 of injury time. To the edge of the box, it's Haksabanovic looking to get onto the left foot, just over the top from Haksabanovic, and it remains Celtic 3, Cali Thistle 1.
He just shifts it to his left foot there, doesn't he? I mean, he's desperate to get strikes at goal. You know, he's tried 2 or 3 occasions, and he managed to just get a little pocket of space there by good play. You know, and James Forrest setting it up for him as well, but just lifting it too high, looking to go with the postage stamp with the left foot and just getting under it.
Just seconds remaining then before Celtic will be crowned treble winners. Cali Thistle have given their all, but just as they did with the promotion push, they're just going to lose out in the end. But they have been a credit to themselves, to their manager, to their fans. But they have just come up short, but they are not the first team to come up short against this Celtic side. Perhaps not quite at their best this afternoon, but good enough as James Forrest teases it into the penalty area, knocked away by Harper. It's all over. Celtic are Scottish Cup winners. For a 41st time, a handshake between the managers and a quick word as Celtic celebrates a 5th treble in 7 seasons. Utterly remarkable stuff. Kyogo got it underway with a typically clinical finish 7 minutes before the break. And then Lee Labada early in the second period looked to put the game beyond Cali Thistle. Only for the dying minutes, 6 minutes to play of the 90, and Danny Mackay got on the end of a fabulous Roddy McGregor cross to head past Joe Hart and really breathe life into Inverness Cali Thistle's cup hopes. But just as we edged into 6 minutes of added on time, Abada stood it up to the back post. Duffy couldn't deal with the cross, and there was Jota to stab it in for a 15th goal of the season. And that was that as far as the scoring was concerned. Celtic win again. It is finished at Hampden this afternoon in the sunshine. Celtic 3, Inverness Cali Thistle 1.
The Scottish Cup Final.